Thanks for listening to Stokely and Zach On Demand. Before Zach tells us who is moonwalking in the Hall of Fame today, have you subscribed to our podcast? Subscribe everywhere you get your podcast or at 1043thefan.com.
Sports Radio 1043 The Fan presents Stokely and Zach.
This is Stokely and Zach. I'm Sean Drotar, host of The Fan Late Night, 10 to midnight. Brandon Stokely is here, though, and Stoke, the Colorado Avalanche, as well as the rest of the NHL, will take part in the NHL expansion draft on Wednesday when the Seattle Kraken will pick one player from every team.
Okay, so explain me that process. Yeah. So they just go through and they just say first team up is, do you want anybody from Anaheim, or do they just give a list all at once? Like do you know how that process unfolds?
In this one, I haven't seen the explanation. That I assume they're going to try to do something maybe for television to make it interesting, and they'll just pick them in order. Right. But they don't really have to, because each team will lose one player and can only lose one player. So it's rather simple. Each team had a couple different ways to protect it. Most protected 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goaltender. And that's what the Avalanche did as well. Part of the reason they traded Ryan Graves just at the end of last week was because they couldn't protect 4 top defensemen, and they didn't get the return they'd like, but it was better than losing Graves for nothing.
Yeah, I like how you broke that down. He would have been the pick
last week.
Yeah, that because I wasn't sure why they did that, but your explanation of why was you didn't want to lose him for nothing, so at least you got something.
You got something, because he would have clearly been the best player to take off the Avalanche. It was a no-brainer. 25-year-old top 4 defenseman, you're going to take him. But the Avalanche chose not to protect Gabriel Landeskog.
See, that's surprising to me. Now, you're more of a hockey guy than I am. Explain that logic, please.
Well, it's a bit of a gamble. Now, Landeskog in the last couple of days has basically expressed his disappointment that he hasn't gotten a new deal done. He is an unrestricted free agent, hasn't gotten a new deal done with the Avalanche, and obviously would like to, and the feeling is mutual. The Avalanche have no interest in losing Gabriel Landeskog. But as Joe Sakic correctly warned during the season, the year that they just finished was going to be the best that roster was going to be, because they had the right blend of guys on their rookie contracts and things like that. Now it's going to get expensive. Cale Makar finished second in Norris Trophy voting for the best defenseman in the league. He's a restricted free agent. You're going to have to pay him. You're going to have to pay him a lot. Philip Grubauer finished in the top 3 in Vezina voting for the best goalie in the league. Talk about contract year at the right time. Grubauer is an unrestricted free agent. So they're going to have to pay both of those guys. They did protect Grubauer. But not protecting Landeskog doesn't necessarily mean they'll lose him. And here's why. So there's been the idea that this is a concern, but at the same time, it's not an immense concern. What this means is between now and Wednesday, because Landeskog is a pending free agent, the Seattle Kraken get an exclusive negotiating window with Landeskog. So they basically can go back and forth with him about a free agent deal any way they'd like. If they sign him, he counts as the expansion draft selection from the Avs, and the Avs are done.
Okay.
And they won't lose any more. That's it. But is Gabriel Landeskog, who just got off a team that won the President's Trophy, is favored to win the Stanley Cup this year, and is the captain of this team, the only team he's ever played for, is he going to want to sign a free agent deal with a new expansion team?
Well, let me answer that real quick. How much does he want to get paid?
Right.
I think that's what it boils down to.
That's the question.
Do you value, your contract over winning? But also, Sean, do you feel like you've been disrespected here? And so that plays a part in it too. So I think it's a, 3 or 4-fold type of thing. And what do you value the most? And also, how have these negotiations gone? Have they, ticked you off to a certain degree where you are bitter right now or not? So I think, it's hard to kind of say, hey, you don't want to go to Seattle because, they're an expansion team. It might take them a while. You got a winner here, but we don't know how these negotiations have gone.
And maybe,
plus, if he wants the money, show him the money.
Look what happened to the last expansion team. Las Vegas immediately went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
With the quickness. So it can happen. Probably won't happen again, I'd say, but it can happen.
And it might not be totally a bad thing. I guess if you're like Gabriel Landeskog, if they sign Gabriel Landeskog, he's the man on that team. And maybe it's not the worst thing to be, you'll be the team captain over there. You'll be the superstar, the face of a brand new franchise. That can be appealing.
It's not a bad gig. I mean, they can sell you, like you said, on being the guy that brings hockey to Seattle, and you're the face of the franchise there, and a new franchise, they're going to be going crazy about them. And so,
it's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a calculated risk by Joe
There's
Sakic.
some positives there, obviously, if you're Gabe Landeskog.
Sure.
You look at it, and depending on what type of contract they want to give you.
Yeah, well, you talked about how he feels. He had a quote about this just a week ago or so in The Athletic. He said, I can't help but be honest with you that I'm a little bit disappointed that it's gotten this far and it's had to come to this point. He's talking about the negotiations with the Avalanche on a new contract. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm still hopeful that we can agree on something and come to terms, but if it was up to me, I would have liked it to be done 8 months ago, 10 months ago, end quote.
Well, there's your frustration, right?
Doesn't sound too happy.
No. I've done a lot of great things here, obviously. And, what has taken so long to show me the love that I feel like I deserve? What is going on here? We could have got this thing done 9-10 months ago and been done with it. This is where I want to be. But at the same time, I value myself at a certain level. And obviously, the organization hasn't matched that type of level, how he values himself. So it's going to be interesting. That would be obviously not something you want to see if you're an Avs fan.
There's a gap. I mean, the reports are that basically Landeskog out of his camp, who's 28 years old, would like maybe a 7-year deal for $7 million apiece, so about $49 million. The Avs are looking at 30 million over 5 years. So it's not really a $19 million difference. It's $1 million a year different because the Avs are looking at a 6-year average, and Landeskog would like a $7 million per year average, but over a longer span of time too. So that's a difference. Now, if you're the Avalanche, can you win him over on a bit of a hometown discount because you know that your team is this close to winning the whole thing?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it. I've been going down this road for months now. So seems like he has a price in mind, and he's not going to settle for less, or this thing would have gotten done.
It seems like
right?
It, right?
And here's my question to you, Sean. You traded Graves, right, because you're afraid that you might lose him.
Right.
Now, what happens if you lose Landeskog here and then you traded Graves away and got under market value for him? Now, Are you looking at yourself like, what just happened?
Well,
we just got 1-2 comboed here. We wouldn't have traded Graves if we know that Landeskog would have been gone. How do you view that?
They still would have traded Graves because you could only protect 3 defensemen. And they protected Makar, Sam Girard, and Devon Tays, and that probably would have stayed the case. But you're right. It would, you'd lose Graves and Landeskog?
Right.
In one hit? Oh, my goodness. And that's the problem when these expansion drafts hit and you're a good team.
You can only protect so many.
You're going to get stuck. That's the way it goes. And we will see. Losing Landeskog would be a hit. I guess if there's a slight bright side, you'd free up a lot of money to sign Grubauer and Makar.
Yeah, that's.
But I'd hate to see that.
No, I want to see this core return. I think it will. I mean, my gut tells me it will. It'll work out. They'll figure it out, and the Avs will get a deal done, and we'll all be happy. Landeskog, the Avs, Colorado, and he'll be back. That's my gut. We'll have everybody pretty much back, and get a chance to run this thing back, and hopefully take a couple extra steps, and but I think it's all going to work out.
I'd like to think so, because I do know Landeskog wants to stay here. He has no desire to go. He likes the team. He likes the city. He likes all of it. They'll free up a little bit of money because if Landeskog does not get signed by Seattle, they will probably lose either JT Compher or Jonas Donskoy, in which case you'll free up either $2 or $3 million respectively, which will help. I mean, it's not franchise changing money, but it will help, and they'll probably lose one of those two. Were I Seattle, I would pick Donskoy, but I could understand why you might want to pick a guy up the middle like Compher. That's probably one of the two they'll lose. But I'm with you. I'd like to see them find a way to run it all back. The one that surprised me is that they protected Nazem Kadri, who was very valuable to them. They missed that grit, but then again, his suspension really hurt that team.
Right. Of course.
And he's a multiple-time offender of these kind of suspensions in the playoffs.
And when you can't count on or trust a guy in the biggest moments, to me, their value is minimal because, like you said, a repeat offender on top of all that. One more mistake like that, what's going to happen? In big-time situations, in big-time games, he could be gone for a lot of games because of his past history, and he's already proven that you can't trust him and you can't count on him. And so at that point, to me, those guys are replaceable. I don't care what kind of value they provide on the field or the ice when – you can't trust a guy to make the right decisions in big moments, then I don't want him on my team.
I really like Kadri's ability, and I liked what he brought to the Avs, and I liked the grit, and I liked the face-off ability, and I liked the defensive ability, and he's a pest as a forechecker. But that penalty that got him suspended was so egregious and so foolish.
But it seemed like they started playing better without him.
It was unnecessary. Well, until they ran into Vegas.
Until they ran into
where they needed
the
forechecking.
last 4 games.
And then they didn't have the guy they specifically needed to help clog up that middle. And he cost them that. And I'm not going to say he cost them the entire series. The Avs as a team did not play well offensively, but that hurt. And it was unnecessary. You could have been there. There's a difference when you're hurt or when you did something to get yourself suspended.
Yeah. How can you trust that, Sean? That's my question.
I'm a little surprised.
So if it happens again in a big moment, it's like, hey,
yeah.
Well, what do you expect? This is what this guy does.
So 3 times.
It's what he does.
3. Oof.
We'll see.
We'll see. There'll be for Avs fans will be sweating out the next 48 hours. So you see what happens with Gabe Landeskog and the Seattle Kraken as the two of them get to sit down and talk. Well, contract challenges seem to be happening all over the place, not only with the Avalanche, but also with the Denver Nuggets, where Will Barton makes a bit of a power play. Interesting decision, but will it work? We'll talk about it next.
It's Stokely and Zach on Sports Radio 104.3 The Fan.
Welcome back to Stokely and Zach. Zach is off. My name's Sean Drotar. Fan late night from 10 to midnights on weeknights. Brandon Stokely, of course, is here. And Stoke, the Denver Nuggets, had a really good run. Just didn't work out. The injuries kind of hobbled them. In fact, I think if they had been able to stay healthy, you might be seeing them against the Milwaukee Bucks right now. Everything kind of broke their way, except they ended up getting hurt. But this team is close. And
they're very close.
They're very close.
Yes.
And Will Barton, who is basically your starting 2, although the league's becoming a little more positionless, so it doesn't really matter, a wing player, if you will, declined his $14.7 million player option and will become a free agent. Now, our Nuggets insider, Matt Moore, over on DenverFan.com and our station's Twitter account, broke it down like this.
Will Barton on Saturday declined his 2021-22 player option for $14.6 million, making the Nuggets forward an unrestricted free agent next month as NBA free agency begins. The move is not entirely surprising. Barton had indicated after the season that he wanted to feel, quote, appreciated, and that's likely to come with a starting job, more money, and potentially several more years. The Nuggets are limited in what they can add in free agency, and the two sides do have a mutual interest in keeping Barton in Denver. However, it will be complicated by both extension talks for Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., along with trying to address the other team needs for the Nuggets. Either way, Will Barton is about to get the bag. For more on the Nuggets, make sure to check out 104.3 The Fan in Denver.
About to get the bag. I thought that Matt Moore became a DJ for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, like that thing hit off with about, 10 seconds of nothing but a beat going. I'm like, is Matt going to come on this thing, or is he just going into some DJ in here? Okay.
Yeah, the Fans digital team's laying down some tracks.
I love it. Look, let Will Barton walk. It is what it is. I mean, it's like, all right, whatever. Do I like Will Barton? Sure. Is he a huge difference maker? No. If you're worrying about, re-signing Aaron Gordon, you're looking at Michael Porter Jr., getting him done. Okay. Will Barton, thank you. Okay, bye. I mean, that's what else? Like you said, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you're not going to not be able to or limit yourself in a big way by signing Will Barton. It's just one of those things. It's sports. It stinks. Is he a Good player? Yeah. Is he a great player? No. Right. So if he's got to go, he's got to go. I'm not sacrificing those other two guys for Will Barton.
And I'm not bumping up to 16, 17 million and committing that. Look, and especially in the last 2 seasons.
How many years? You're going to have to commit, probably 3 or 4 years.
30 years old. Injuries have been a problem.
A big problem.
He missed 20 games. Almost 20 games. He missed 16 games this year. Missed all of the playoffs last year.
So it's 2 years in the playoffs that he has missed pretty much
missed sometime
all of the playoffs. I mean, he came back at the end.
For the last couple games.
Yeah, at the end this year. But missed them all in the bubble and missed pretty much all of them this year. So, I mean, is that who you want to give a big contract to?
Yeah, and he's a good player, but he's 30. And, let's look at the numbers. In 31 minutes a game, 12.7 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game, and 1.7 turnovers per game. That, to me, is pretty pedestrian. I think you can replace that for less than $16, $17 million.
Absolutely, and especially when you're playing with the talent that he's playing with on this team.
Right.
You got Nikola, you got Jamal, you got Michael Porter Jr. You
got Aaron Gordon.
I mean, come on. I think a lot of people could put up those types of numbers, and you made a good point there, Sean. Look, he's not getting any younger. He's going to be 31 here, I guess, sometime here within the next year. So, look, it's just. Would you like to have him back if he wouldn't have opted out? Sure, but he's looking to go get his money. Good for him. The Nuggets have other things they need to worry about and try to accomplish here. And you don't want to be handcuffed by Will Barton's contract in a year or so. It is what it is.
They got Austin Rivers off the street, right?
Yes.
And in the 15 regular season games that he played off the bench, he averaged 8.7 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 2.6 assists. You give him starters minutes, he's basically going to put up Will Barton's numbers, more or less. And if you actually look at the player efficiency rating, which is one of the more advanced metrics that takes all of it into account, out of guys that played major minutes for the Nuggets last year, Barton comes in 8th. Talking about basically taking your whole game together. And you got Austin Rivers just literally off the street. And he basically, per minute, he did what Will Barton did.
Yes. It's
I think Will Barton made a mistake, and maybe some other team is going to get excited about it.
I don't think he did. I think
you think he's going to get more somewhere? You think someone's going to pay him?
Yeah, a 3-year deal, and in basketball, obviously, that's all guaranteed. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that long-term commitment where you get a 3-year, I don't know, $48 million contract, something like that. And so better to do it now than to wait one more year, because then the next year at this time you're going to be 31. And so, and what kind of year did you have? So I think when you look at it, he made the right move for himself. It stinks for the Nuggets, but it is what it is, and it's just time to move on, turn the page, and find the next Will Barton or somebody that can do a comparable job for a lot less money. And I think you can find that person out there. And
if that's the case, then freeing up the $14.7 million may have actually helped.
Exactly. It might have actually helped the Nuggets, yes. I'm with you.
I know there's mutual interest to return, but I am with you. I think it's time to move on.
He might have done the Nuggets a favor there.
Yeah.
He might have helped them out.
We will see. Well, I'll tell you what. Fan has a great prize package for you to win. The prize package of the year, really. Toughest tickets to find. We have Garth Brooks tickets. And Blake Shelton and Eric Church. I'm with you, Stoke. Like Eric Church.
Love Eric Church.
Tickets to Thomas Rhett, Cody Johnson, Kane Brown, and more up at Cheyenne Frontier Days. And here's how you can win. And by the way, you win the whole kit and caboodle here. So I'll tell you how to do it. Tomorrow and Wednesday on Schlereth and Evans, Orlando and Sandy, right here in this program, Stokely and Zach, and The Drive, they'll reveal a different word each show of our Fast Lane to Cheyenne phrase. You just listen for this sound. Okay, once all 8 words have been revealed, the first caller who can tell Richie the entire Fast Lane to Cheyenne phrase will win the grand prize and all of those tickets, including Garth Brooks. But you have to be listening to all 4 shows, both Tuesday and Wednesday, to get the entire phrase. We know you do that anyway. So, we'll let you scavenger hunt a little bit, put it all together. But again, it's worth it because you heard those names we just rolled off there. I mean, Stoke had a big smile on his face hearing about all those.
Oh, I mean, it's as good as it gets.
You and I can't win. But that's okay because we would rather give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. We're givers.
That's our fast lane to Cheyenne. Make sure you check it out tomorrow and Wednesday. Listen for that sound. It's notable. Listen to the phrase and then call in.
I mean, it's
Richie
great
right
prize.
there in the booth is going to be the man to give it away.
You got to pay attention to every show. Going to be a one word dropped on every show, and then you put it together. You call in, and you're going to Cheyenne. I mean, what a great concert or concerts.
Yeah, that's the whole pile. So make sure you check it out day and tomorrow. All 4 of those daytime shows. Check them out all day long. The Broncos situation at quarterback, of course, is fluid. It could be more fluid with a certain Aaron Rodgers in play, but is he in play? Well, 2 of the more notable NFL insiders disagree.
Love it.
We'll hear from both of them next.
You're listening to Stokely and Zach on Sports Radio 104.3 The Fan.
When I think about you, I think about 17. I think about my old Jeep. I think about the stars and
Look at Richie in there paying attention.
Talk to me.
sounds like a melody.
This is Stokely and Zach. I'm Sean Grotar, host of The Fan late night at midnight on weeknights. That man, by the way, that you're hearing is Eric Church. Pay attention the next couple days for the Fan's Fast Lane to Cheyenne. Go check him out along with Garth Brooks. Everybody else up at Cheyenne Frontier Days. Stoke, the Aaron Rodgers story is not going to come to an end. And you ready for a little roller coaster? We're going to take you on a little roller coaster.
Okay. All right.
I'll start it with this. Now, last week, A.J. Hawk, former Packer and teammate Aaron Rodgers, golfed with him and said, quote, what have I said from the start? I said, I don't see him playing anywhere else. I don't see Green Bay trading him. I don't see that happening. I don't know how it has to work. But yeah, I feel like he's going to be in Green Bay. All right.
Okay.
So there's that. So that feels like, that sounds pretty robust, right? He's a golfing buddy, old teammate. He feels like somehow it's going to work out. Now, we've heard a lot of that from some former teammates.
Yes, we have.
But on Get Up, with Mike Tannenbaum and Mike Greenberg earlier today, it's a very brief but firm statement by one Adam Schefter.
Not losing Aaron Rodgers, it's losing Aaron Rodgers and not winning. That's why it goes back to how well does Jordan Love do? And you can trade Aaron Rodgers next spring. You don't have to trade him now.
Mike, guess what? They've lost Aaron Rodgers. They've lost Aaron Rodgers.
They already. Thank you, Shefty. Thank you.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's a statement.
I mean, he was like, hey, Mike, shut up, Mike. I got something to say. They've lost him. I mean, it's over. I mean, like, you know, and when Schefter says that, I'm like, wow, that's a mic drop, you know, when it comes to this situation right there.
Because you know who he's talking to.
Yes. He's either talking to Aaron's agent. I mean, that's where he's getting his intel from, right?
So that's the word that his camp's going to want out. Oh, that's pretty telling. So what does that force the Packers into? Or are we totally off because Ian Rappaport, the NFL Network, was on the Pat McAfee show, and he says he's going nowhere.
I don't know if he'll be there the day it starts. I do have a strong feeling that he'll be playing for them. It has to get fixed, and they have made no moves whatsoever to trade him, nor should they. If I had Aaron Rodgers, I would never, ever trade him. There's definitely some middle ground that I think, you know, the team and Rodgers can find, and it's been a lot of time. There's been a lot of conversations. There's been a lot of chances to make him okay with it, and he has still never come out and said, screw them, I'm never playing there. So that, to me, means it's open, and we'll see if in the week and a half something can happen.
Did you hear that in the background? It's like I don't know, what was that? Like some – who was that?
Talking, it was like, it's the rest of his team are just talking.
Okay, see, that's more how I view this thing, Sean. This is the way I've been viewing it. Okay, he might not show up day one, but he's going to show up soon. They're going to figure it out, at least for this year. This year's going to get figured out. And, you know, I don't know what it's going to take, what's going to happen, but it's going to – Aaron Rodgers will show up and play for the Packers this year. And then I think it might be over unless they do some kind of big deal with him. I just don't see it unfolding any other way. So I'm more in line with Ian Rappaport. But at the same time, you're hearing Rappaport, who's, with the NFL Network and obviously is a huge insider. Adam Schefter is the man and a huge insider, ESPN. And they both are, on complete opposites.
Yeah. And I'll say this. Both A.J. Hawk and Rappaport specifically said, I just feel like it's going to get done. Something has to work out. So there's a bit of rationalization there, right? Where they're just feeling like, I don't see how it would break up. Seems difficult. I just feel like it makes sense for it all to work out. Whereas what we heard from Schefter was pretty definitive. It is pretty clear.
Yes.
Rodgers is not interested. Period. And if he's dug in, where does that put all this? I mean, we're just still stuck in the same holding pattern?
I mean, do you really want to go down that road? Are you really that upset, Aaron Rodgers? Are you really that upset? That's my question. It's a team sport. I think eventually what wins out is his teammates. He's not mad at his teammates.
No.
He's not mad at his coaches.
No.
He's mad
at the
office.
fact that they haven't, not only the Jordan Love pick, obviously, but they really haven't gotten offensive weapons for a while. And then you have situations where he's working with a guy like Jake Kumro, right? And talks about how there's, he gets a bit of a vibe with him. They're starting to have a rapport. They're starting to be effective. And then the front office cuts him. And that stuff's bothering him. And it's not going away.
Exactly. But at the same time, you've proven your point.
Have you?
I think
will the Packers change?
I think so. I think you've proven your point in a big way. Now, I mean, you can miss the season if you wanted to. But do you really want to do that if you're Aaron Rodgers? I mean, don't you love your teammates? I mean, doesn't he love Davante Adams? They got a great relationship. I mean, they're like best friends. I mean, do you want to, watch that guy go out there and struggle this year? I mean, you can tell he really does, like his teammates. And they have a really good team. I mean, are you going to just throw all that away because you're pissed off at the general manager or the guy that's, acting like the president of that organization, Murphy or whoever it is? I mean, are you willing to go that far? I just don't think. I just don't think he does.
He wouldn't be the first.
No, he wouldn't.
Le'Veon Bell did it on a very good Pittsburgh team.
Well, he wasn't a quarterback, but you saw Carson Palmer do it.
Carson Palmer did it?
I mean, it's different when you're a quarterback, obviously. I mean, there's
How'd that work out?
A big, how'd that work out, Le'Veon? There's a big ripple-down effect if you're the quarterback, especially a quarterback that's been to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. So they got an opportunity to do something special there. Are you just going to throw that all away because you're bitter about how things with the front office have transpired? Now, certainly he could. I just don't think with all the positives that you have that you throw it away because of that.
If he's playing coy, which he has, by the way, he has not said, I want traded publicly.
Nope.
He is, leaking it through certain media members is not the same thing until he sits in front of a camera and says, I won't play for the Packers again. Then I'm not convinced it won't work out. Now, I guess if he sits in front of a camera and says flat out, I refuse to play for the Green Bay Packers, a la John Elway and Baltimore Colts, then I'll know, okay, the trade's got to happen.
Right.
But he hasn't done that yet.
Nope. I'm with you there. I'm with you. Until he actually says that, then I'll be like, okay, well, this guy's serious.
Why hasn't he said it?
Right. That's
my question. Why hasn't he said it?
Well, I think he likes the attention. If you say it, I think there's less attention
then the attention just becomes where he goes.
Right. Will he won't or won't he, show up? Is he going to show up first day of training camp? If he says he's not going to show up, then you don't have that attention on will he show up or won't he show up, right? You won't have ESPN, hunkered down outside of Green Bay and cameras all over the place to see will Aaron Rodgers show up or not. If he tells you he's not going to show up.
Have you ever played with anyone who clearly wanted that kind of attention? And if so, was it a good thing? The way you're describing it now, that kind of makes you wonder a little bit. Boy, Aaron Rodgers is going to be 38. Kind of stringing everybody along.
And that's how I view it. I don't know. Is that how you view it?
How much do I want this to happen? It does seem like it because, look, if he wanted out, all he has to do is get in front of a camera and say, things are broken here. I'm not coming back. That's all he has to say.
I think he's trying to walk that fine line, though.
But
where he doesn't want to ruin his reputation.
But all of a sudden they come back with some Dak Prescott money and extend him a few more years, and maybe all of a sudden he's like, I can make it work out.
Right.
I think that's what he's trying to do, is split that difference. If they're willing to redo his contract and give him a ton more money and pay him like Patrick Mahomes and stuff, then he'll take it. But unless he's going to basically threaten to leave, and he doesn't want to close the door on either possibility. But
and that actually, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world to do if you're looking at from a business perspective, right? I mean, you don't want to close any doors here. We're still negotiating with these guys. I don't want to show my hand what I'm going to do. I don't want to tell them I'm going to show up for camp. Well, because I'm trying to get more money here. Right? I'm trying to leverage this into a payday for myself. More guaranteed years. I'm trying to make them get rid of Jordan Love. If I tell them I'm going to show up, then I'm not going to get those things. So it might be
This might be the flashiest holdout of all time.
This might be it, and this might be what he's trying to accomplish. So, I don't exactly know if it is just about attention. Maybe it's about, getting more guaranteed years on his contract. So, like Gary, we're fixing to find out, right? Yeah. I mean, here really quickly on how that's going to go down. So it's going to be interesting, but you got Adam Schefter saying he's done, and you got Ian Rappaport saying, that, he doesn't think it's that way. Now we just got to wait and hear from Mark Schlereth.
It's a fancy way of just saying nobody really knows, isn't it? We're all just guessing.
You didn't like that one, Sean?
Just make it through life. Well, but
I mean, Schlereth gave us some good stuff this morning, I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad Twitter account.
I mean, always does. That's why you listen. Listen to all four of them. Get yourself some Cheyenne Frontier.
Schlereth gave me more ammo. Thank you, Mark. Yes.
We'll get right back. Oh, boy. It has been a tremendous amount of fun. It's so fun, it doesn't even feel like a Monday.
And you keep swinging, you're going to get one. You're going to get a hit.
I'm on crazy pills. We'll get right back at it tomorrow. This has been fun. It'll be fun tomorrow, too. We'll get a little bit, look, we do just try to get a little smarter, come back at it the next day.
Love it.
So we'll do exactly that. Thanks to Richie Carney in the booth. He's got to
First day, Richie.
Works. That's right.
You made it, buddy. You made it to the big time.
I only have 2 buttons, so, he's got to do the rest of it.
That's right.
So, thanks a lot, Richie, in the booth. For Brandon Stokely, I'm Sean Drotar. The Drive is next on Denver Sports Station. Sports Radio 104.3, The Fan.
Miss any of Stokely and Zach? Make sure to subscribe to our on-demand podcast. You'll get every episode as soon as they're released. Just subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or at 1043thefan.com.